This is one thing you will love. So in today's conversation, what I want to do, I want to speak to you about a massive personal credit card from Capital One, $25,000, low fair credit, okay. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you are to ask me. If you are doing as great and blessed as I am, go grab a cup of coffee, or tea, or vodka, and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to speak to you about a massive personal credit card from Capital One, $25,000, low and fair credit, okay. A lot of folks think that when you talk about Capital One, you got to have an excellent credit necessarily. No, you can still qualify even if you have fair or low credit. I'm going to show this to you in today's conversation. But before I get into the actual nitty-gritty, please understand that this show is purely instructional, purely educational. We have no relationship, no affiliation with Capital One. They have not paid us to do this video, all right? Now let's talk about the credit card facts. So we're talking about the Platinum MasterCard from Capital One, okay? This is an unsecured credit card. The maximum amount is $25,000, and the APR is up to 26.99%. There are no fees. The decision speed 1 to 3 days, and extra conditions, there are no extra conditions, and the minimum FICO required, it's a variable between 530 and 669, okay? And so this is a great card. And one thing you need to understand is that there are other noteworthy credit cards that are offered by Capital One, especially for folks who have low or fair credit. Okay, so we have the Quicksilver one from Capital One. This is a card that is great, but it has an annual fee of $39. The purchase APR is also 26.99% variable. The minimum credit score variable 530 to 669. And this is a card where you have an unlimited 1% cash back on every purchase every day. And you also get access to valuable benefits. And then we also have the secured MasterCard from Capital One. This is a secured credit card. So this is kind of cool for folks who want to build credit and they can qualify for the Platinum MasterCard or the Quicksilver one. Okay. And with the secure MasterCard, there's no annual fee, but the APR is still high. We would say that based on our research, when it comes to secure credit card, don't get the Capital One. It's too expensive because the regular APR stands at 26.99%. This is just too high. And the minimum credit score for this is 350 to 529. So when you think about Capital One, you want to think about 3 cards that may be of interest to folks who have low or fair credit. But in today's conversation, I'm speaking exclusively about the Platinum MasterCard from Capital One. This is an unsecured credit card, maximum limit $25,000. Let me quickly give you an overview of Capital One. Obviously, everybody knows Capital One, that's for sure. But I want to quickly give you some pros and cons. But before again I get into the synopsis, folks, just to contextualize today's conversation, I am speaking to you about a very high limit, 25,000 credit card, personal credit card from Capital One, okay? And this is if you have low credit, no problem. If you have a fair credit, no problem. The minimum credit for this credit score for this card is 530. And one thing I want to say here is that the issuer overview. Now, Capital One offers a top-of-the-line bank experience. So besides credit card, they also offer banking services. Okay, they're great with they have no good interest and no monthly fees on the checking and savings sides, and there is no minimum balance to open checking, savings, and CDs. Now they do have to do a better job. Capital One, if you're listening right now, your rates are too high. On the credit card side, your rates are very high. The regular APR is around 26.99%. This is too much. When you compare this card with other similar cards, this is something that Capital One has to work on. They actually they are very generous in approving low credit and fair credit borrowers. That's for sure. They have excellent customer service also to kind of help out those borrowers. So after evaluating this card issuer on tens of criteria, including the credit card variety, the card limit generosity, the cost, the reputation, and the customer service, we assign Capital One a score of 8.5 over 10. And our ratings were actually corroborated by other reviewers online. So we have Consumer Affairs on that platform. Capital One was rated 3.7 over 5 by 1,848 reviewers as of the date of today's show. And we also have Wallet Hub on that platform, 70,412 ratings, assigned an aggregate score of 3.7 over 5. That's a score that they assigned to Capital One. And on Trustpilot, you have 1,315, you have 889 reviewers that rated Capital One actually at 1.3 over 5. This is really bad. But this is simply because Capital One that has no strategy to counterbalance all the negative reviews online. In other words, they really don't care. And they're wrong for not caring, but they don't care. That's why. Now I want to talk to you about the card in depth, folks. Now, before I get into the real digging here, folks, I am talking to you today about a high limit personal credit card from Capital One. Maximum limit $25,000. Low credit and fair credit borrowers are welcome. No personal guarantee, no collateral needed. Let me give you some decision time here. Big question. Why do you need this card? Are you interested in this card? I bet you are. This is why you're listening to today's conversation. But what can you do to get the card? Have you looked at your budget? Have you looked at your personal credit right now? Have you analyzed your spending patterns? Because this Platinum MasterCard from Capital One comes with a bevy of benefits, but you have to have the right spending categories to be able to benefit from those benefits and rewards. Okay, and especially if you're looking for an introductory credit card, this could be a great card too. So you got to have a clear idea of why you need the card before you even think about applying, okay? And when you apply, you have a lot of things. You have a lot of benefits. No annual fee. You have a credit limit increase. So with the Platinum MasterCard, you'll be automatically considered for a higher credit limit in as little as 6 months. So Capital One will review your account and notify you if you have been approved for additional credit. And as you grow financially, you want to choose a credit card that has benefits that can grow with you. Okay, so basically always use your card responsibly so that you can increase your chances of getting a credit limit increase. You have tap to pay. All right, you can manage your accounts with the constellation of tools that Capital One has. You also have Eno or Eno, your Capital One assistant. This is a great feature also. And you have the Capital One mobile app. This is also another great feature. You have CreditWise. In our view, CreditWise is one of the best tools out there. This is a free credit monitoring tool that can help you keep a close eye on your credit. Okay, it's free for everyone, even if you're not a Capital One cardholder. So this is pretty good. And with CreditWise, you can discover key factors that may impact your TransUnion Vantage Score 3.0. You can get alerts when something meaningful changes on your TransUnion and Experian credit scores and credit reports and more. So they don't do the FICO, they only do the Vantage Score. You have a flexible payment date. You have instant purchase notifications. You have auto pay. Okay, you have a $0 fraud liability, card lock, security alerts, and you have Capital One shopping in terms of savings when you shop. So there are a lot of benefits you can get from having this card. I want to talk to you now about eligibility. Okay, folks, if you want to be eligible for this high limit personal credit card from Capital One, maximum limit $25,000, low credit, okay, fair credit, okay, no personal guarantee, no collateral. If you want to qualify, there are a couple of things you need to do. First of all, you got to be at least 21 years old or 18 with either a parent's permission or a verifiable source of income. So Capital One wants to make sure you have that. Now, Capital One, they haven't said anything about the fact that you need to have a bank account with them, but it is highly recommended that you have a relationship with Capital One, either as a checking account customer or a savings account customer. All right, you need to have a social, of course. I mean, it goes without saying. Non-citizens without a social security number will not likely to be able to get the card. Okay, you need to. When we talk about income for the Capital One credit card, you need to have at least $1,500 a month. That's gross. That's gross income, okay? You don't have to report all of your income, just the income you want to be considered as available to repay your credit card. In other words, the income you want Capital One underwriters to base their decision upon, okay? And you need to have a credit score of 530 to 669. This is important, okay? Now, unsecured credit cards require applicants to have established credit history. So most cards require good credit scores of 700 or more, although some cards designed for fair credit, like the Capital One Platinum credit card, may accept applicants with lower scores, and this is true. And we love the fact that with this card, with the Platinum credit card, Capital One is they're very flexible now. They just want you to get the card and get the ball rolling and see how you use the card, whether you use the card responsibly or irresponsibly, okay? And also, you can add authorized users to the card. You can even use this card to do balance transfers. This is fantastic. So if you want this to be considered for balance transfers, just make sure that you also indicate on the application form the creditor name, the account number you want the balance to be transferred from, the payment address, and the transfer amount. Very important, okay? I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm still talking to you today about a very high limit personal credit card from Capital One. When we are talking about the Platinum card from Capital One, the maximum limit is $25,000. Low credit and fair credit borrowers are welcome. Okay, now let's talk about the evidence needed. Capital One wants to see some kind of information on the credit card application. All right. By the way, the credit card application is better to do it at the nearest Capital One branch or over the phone. If you have to do it online, make sure that you actually get pre-qualified. I'll speak about this in the next section. So you want to put on the credit or the kind of evidence needed. What type of card do you need? Capital One has several credit cards. So you want to specify that for this particular application, you're looking for the Capital One Platinum card, okay? That's the one that we are all interested in today. Very important. And one thing you also need to mention is that you need to mention whether or not you are a tenant or homeowner. If you have other personal debts, right? This is important for Capital One to see. Whether you need to specify whether or not this is a joint credit card application. If it is a joint credit card application, then you need to provide identification documents for both borrowers. Okay, and you need to also add your income tax returns for the previous 3 years. Capital One wants to go all the way to 3 years. That means your 1040. And if you want your business data to be considered as part of the review process, then you might want to add your 1120 or 1065. You also want to put your financial statements. This is kind of important. Now, one thing we have seen with the Platinum MasterCard from Capital One is that if you really want to be approved, there are a couple of things you need to do. And I want you to pay attention here. You have to have your financial statements and your bank statements. A lot of borrowers forget about the financial statements. They just put forward their bank statements, but financial statements are even important. They're even more important. Why? Because bank statements may only cover, let's say, 3 months, the last 3 months, for example, right? While financial statements might actually cover 1 year or even more, depending upon how you set it up. Okay, so financial statements mean you're going to have something called balance sheets. Then you're going to have your income statements and your cash flow statements. This is just, and this, you don't have to have a background in accounting to get it done. There are a lot of tools on the internet today. There are free tools that you can use to set up your own financial statements, and you can do it for free and real fast. Let's talk about how to apply now for this card. Okay, here is a card, folks. Again, I'm talking to you about a very generous personal credit card from Capital One. We have the Platinum MasterCard from Capital One, and the maximum limit here is $25,000. Low credit is okay, fair credit is okay, And this is a card that actually is very easy to get if you know how to do the things properly. So with Capital One, you can fax over the application. If you receive the solicitation in the mail, you can actually apply online on the site. You can apply over the phone, or you can pay a visit to the branch. Okay. Now you have two options when it comes to getting this card. You can see if you are pre-qualified. So what you do is you look at the screen right now. You put in your address, your email and phone number, your employment status. You have to put income and expenses, your bank accounts. Now you have to put your date of birth and your social security number. And then you click see if I'm pre-qualified. This is a soft pull. This has no impact on your credit report, okay? So, and then you can apply now for real. So you'll put your name and address, your phone, email, citizenship info. If you're a U.S. citizen or you're a green card holder, you need to talk about it. You need to provide your financial information, your salary, your employment history, and they also want additional info from you, right? And they want you to review disclosures. And once you do this, you need to click continue. And then you want to make sure your information looks right. So you have to basically double check all the info before you hit submit. This is very important. And one thing that Capital One always says is that if you don't qualify for the Platinum MasterCard, they may consider you for other cards, and they will only check your credit score, and it will not affect your Platinum application. Okay, so you'll be able to accept or decline their offer. So again, for a soft pull, there is no problem. You only have to. They only do a hard pull when you sign the promissory note, and then you also have additional acknowledgments. So once everything is set, you just have to click submit. So, folks, basically here is some decision time here. I want you to think about the Platinum MasterCard. Do you have all your paperwork ready? Have you done the homework so that if Capital One gives you a good pre-qual amount, you can provide all the documentation needed to get the real amount? Have you done that? Have you checked your credit score lately? Those are questions I want you to think about in your decision time. Okay, because this card I'm talking to you about, this is a great card. This is a very high limit credit card from Capital One, and we're talking about maximum limit of $25,000. Okay, this is not a small card for you to like. This is not a 1,000 limit for a credit card. 25,000. Okay, and low credit, bad credit, fair credit, they accept everyone. The very important things I want you to remember throughout this conversation is that for you to get this card, you need to keep your documents in order. And by documents, I mean everything from financial statements to tax returns to bank statements. You got to have those. I don't care if you have them electronically or physically, doesn't matter. You just have to have them. If you choose to have them electronically, just make sure you save them on the cloud or somewhere where it is secure, because after all, this is your personal financial information, your personal data. Or you can keep it somewhere in the house, stashed away in a place where you keep all your other paperwork. You want to maintain good credit. This is why I was asking you a few minutes earlier whether you knew exactly how much your score is. You got to have a clear idea of what your credit score is. And Capital One, very luckily, has a program called CreditWise. I just spoke about it, CreditWise, and you can qualify for that. And it's free. Whether you are a Capital One customer or not, doesn't really matter. But with Capital One, you get an Advantage score of 3.0. You're not getting a FICO score, but it's okay anyway, because at the end of the day, those two scoring models are pretty analogous. They're pretty similar. Okay. You also want to demonstrate sufficient cash flow to a Capital One. If you have bad or fair credit, you want to show them that you have enough ka-ching, enough moolah coming into your life, whether through a regular job that you have or through a side business or through a full-time business. Okay, and you have to understand that you have options. If you don't get the card from Capital One, you can apply for other cards, or you can actually apply with other lenders. Okay, and you need to decide also whether you want an unsecured card, a secured card, a co-signed card, a debt consolidation card, or a personal line of credit with the Capital One. In some states, they do offer that, a personal line of credit. Thank you, folks, for your attention. I really appreciated it today. In today's conversation, I was talking to you about a massive personal credit card from Capital One, maximum limit $25,000. The card is the Capital One Platinum MasterCard. So I gave you an overview, some facts about the card, the issuer overview, the card in depth. We talked about eligibility. We talked about evidence needed. We talked about how to apply. And last but not the least, I gave you a recap. Thank you so much, folks. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.